Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for being here at the Tarot Tips. A subscriber asked if we would compare and contrast the High Priestess card with the Empress card. This is, I think, a real important pair to see the distinction between. They're both seminal cards in the tarot system, major arcana and basic numbers here, elemental numbers. So I could see where the confusion might come in, but as we've said before, the tarot doesn't practice redundancy. There aren't two cards that say exactly the same thing. So I'm happy to hear the feedback is that this compare and contrast idea is helpful to people as we all make our way through the tarot system. What we're going to find with this particular pair also is that it really lends itself well to comparing these two cards between various decks. And that's a method that I might suggest. If you're finding difficulty with a particular card, you might go online and look it up in several different versions and see if you can get a better sense of the overall feel of the card, depending on how different artists and tarot practitioners view that particular place in the tarot. So let's go to the table and we will talk about the High Priestess and the Empress. All right, here are the cards in question for today. We will use the pronouns she because the images are depicted as females, but like every other card in the tarot, be reminded that these are not about gender, these are about energy. It's the energy of receptivity. It's the energy of facilitation. It's not gender-based. But I will use the pronoun she as I'm talking about these cards. So what they have in common is that each of these cards represents the power of receptivity. They do it in a different way, but each is essentially very powerful within themselves as a receptive vehicle. I often say in class that the High Priestess is passively receptive and is more like a place than an activity, and really doesn't, the High Priestess as a card really doesn't do anything. She more like presides. She sits between the polarity. She holds the duality. The Empress is actively receptive. So by that I mean she's the ground where growth takes place. She receives the tomato seed and allows the plant to grow. So she's receptive in an active way. So each of these cards represents the power of receptivity. Each one is an elemental source of force of nature. Each one is an essential component of our physicality as well as our conscious awareness. These first 6 cards of the tarot, I like to call the archetypes of origination. These are the essential basic energies out of which our experience can emerge. So card 2 and card 3, so very important and elemental to our understanding as human beings and to our experience as human beings. Where they are different, our first clue is going to be able to be found in the numbers. The High Priestess is card 2, and always in High Priestess cards you're going to see a polarity, you're going to see a duality, whether it's two different kinds of trees, whether it's the sun and the moon. Here we have the black pillar and the white pillar. The High Priestess is all about holding the opposites, not deciding about that, not having anything to say about that, but just sort of holding space between the formed and the unformed, between the right and the wrong, the good, the bad, the I know, I don't know, whatever polarity we might be experiencing. So the two-ness of the High Priestess is very important and essential to, intrinsic to her symbolism in the tarot. When we move into the Empress, now we are into physicality. Now we take that, if you'll allow me a little bit of visual aid here, the High Priestess is the 2, the Empress is the triangle, which resolves the polarity of the 2. So a triangle being an image of the manifest world. The High Priestess has been called in various writings the womb of the spirit. We can see the Empress as the womb of manifestation, the matrix, if you will, of the physical world. It's not an accident that the word matrix, material, matter, and mother all have the same root, mater, M-A-T-E-R, in Latin. So she is emblematic of the ground where growth can take place, whether that's your the earth, your physical mother, anyone who facilitates, anyone who supports growth. That idea is Empress energy. Now we can see so the spiritual aspect, womb of the spirit, this very non-linear aspect of the High Priestess, the realm of intuition, the realm of the dream, the realm of patience, the realm where things are not yet formulated. When we move to the Empress, we have come into physicality. We have bridged the gap, if you will, between the unformed and the formed. So let's look at a few different tarot decks and see how we see this idea reflected. Here's Mythic Tarot, which I always appreciate for its colors and its very evocative way which it describes certain cards. Now we can see pretty obviously the difference between this image and this image, whereas this is neutral tones. It's a person who's underground. She's very much a flat, two-dimensional kind of an image. Persephone here in Mythic Tarot. And here we have Demeter, very much connected to the earth, very much fecundity, the queen of her realm here, fertile, abundant nature, Mother Nature. So we can see a little bit removed here, but still very powerful High Priestess, with the in the world facilitator, physical life-giving vessel of the Empress. Let's take the Druid Craft Tarot, which has a Celtic representation. And as is the Celtic tradition, the High Priestess energy was not hidden like it is now, or like it has been for the last 500 or 600 or 800 years. In the Celtic tradition, the energy of the High Priestess is at least equal to, in terms of external power, as the Empress card, if not more so. So we see this very powerful, dynamic High Priestess card. But still, she is in between the pillars. Here we see the pillars represented as rocks. We see the closed book. No need to read the book. No need to talk about the book. High Priestess is ruled by the moon. And this posture is very much a throwback, or has a connection to the Minoan symbolism of the bull horns, which are connected to crescent moon images. So all these symbolic threads can be found in the moon image, and this posture in particular of the High Priestess, receiving information, receiving power. And then we have this, the Empress called the Lady in the Druid Craft Tarot. Similar to Demeter, pregnant, abundant, comfortable in her physicality, very much a worldly image. Many times we can see water, descending water in the Empress card. Water, water, water. Empress is ruled by Venus. And then if we want to get even a little bit more abstract, let's go to the Osho Zen Tarot, which I do intend to talk about in an upcoming video. The High Priestess card. I'll hold it up just so it can be seen without hopefully it getting too blurry. Inner voice. Okay, we get that same crescent moon. We get this, the pillars here, it's dolphins. We get the idea of listening, of inner wisdom, of the wateriness of that card. Okay, harkens back to this image that we're very familiar with, but its own interpretation there. And if we take the traditional Empress, Osho Zen calls this one creativity. I'll hold it up here so we can see it. So in this card we do see another moon. We see the moon receiving in this card. We see the moon pouring out in this card, which I think is interesting. Pulling in power here, birthing power, creativity, that matrix idea with the Osho Zen Tarot. So I think a great example of two cards that when looked at through the lens of different tarot decks can give us some great insight about not just each card individually, but how they are similar and how they are different. I hope that helps clarify and expand your appreciation for these really elemental, essential forces of receptivity and creativity. See you next time.